Welcome back to the Relationship Mentors podcast. I am your host, Mia, and we are here with Charlie Owen. So today we are going to go over 3 traits in your relationship that you think are toxic but actually aren't. And we're also going to discuss when is it too soon to talk about marriage. So before we get into our topics today, we did originally start this podcast because we wanted to build more depth with our listeners on here rather than just the content that we post on social media. So with that in mind, today we thought it would be a great idea to share with you something that most people don't know about us. So Charlie, starting with you, what is something that most people don't know about you?
I'd say on Instagram and most of the followers and stuff wouldn't know I'm from Wales and we actually speak a different language in Wales. And it's like English was pretty much my second language. Well, it's like head and head English and Welsh. So Wales has its own language, and I think there's only around 500,000 people in the world left that can speak that language. And I'm one of them, which is pretty cool. So when we have children and having children, and it's really cool if we teach them that language. So most people don't know that I speak Welsh. So dwi'n dod o Cymru, dwi allan yn Australia ar y funud, dwi'n siarad Cymraeg, dwi byw efo Mia Cherry. So it's like a completely different language and most people don't know it exists, especially living out here in Australia. And Australians generally aren't very good at geography. When we meet people here, it's like, where are you from? I'm from the UK. Oh, you're from England. It's like most people don't know Wales exists. So yeah, that would be one thing most people don't know about me.
And no, I cannot make sense of any Welsh at all, so I have no idea what he said.
You're going to learn. My dad grew up speaking Welsh and he speaks Welsh every day. And then my mum's from England originally, and she's learned the language. Like, she knows it fluently. She doesn't speak it, but she can fully understand it now. So you can do it.
Yeah, like I may learn when we're teaching our kids, like learn little bits here and there. And within that, it's actually something that I really forget that you can even do, because obviously we only ever talk in English. So I forget that you can even speak Welsh. And then when he does speak in Welsh, I'm like, there's no way that that's actually words that you're saying.
Yo hablo un poco español. I also speak a bit of Spanish.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, you have a tiny something.
Yeah, poco is tiny. Un poquito. What's something people don't know about you, Mia Cherry?
Something that people don't know about me, probably because like this happened when I was 14 and 16. I did dance a lot growing up, like every year in primary school to high school, and became a dance teacher through that time as well. However, when I was 14 and 16, a group of us dancers in my team, we went to America. So we're in Australia currently, and we danced and performed in Disneyland and Disney World. And
on cruise ships, was it?
Yeah, we went on a dance on a cruise ship around the Bahamas, which was really cool. And we went to a lot of different places in LA and Universal Studios and Hollywood Boulevard. There's like a dance section.
Yeah, you're going to dance on, is it Boulevard? No, what's the main thing? Broadway.
Yeah, when I was 14 when our group went over. And then after we had finished our like 2 weeks, 3 weeks there of dancing and things like that and looking around and touring together, the company invited us to go dance on Broadway in 2 years. And then it ended up being changed to the Bahamas. So it's like when I was 16, going to the Bahamas
it sounded cool.
Yeah, so much cool.
One night in Broadway.
Yeah. To say that
Is Broadway in New York?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It is really cool. I'd love to go to New York. Like, it's definitely on my bucket list in our lifetime.
Yeah, I had a coaching call with this woman from New York last week. And it was I told Mia, I was like, oh, that woman's from New York. Mia was like, oh, that's so cool. Like this high-end lady from New York. It's like a movie.
Yeah, it's like all of the movies that I love and series that I love are based in New York, like Sex and the City, Suits.
Legit, so many love stories are in New York.
Yeah, so many rom-coms are in, like, I love a good chick flick, and a lot of them are based in New York. So when Charlie got off the phone with a lady from New York, I'm like, oh my gosh, she is living the dream. She owns an apartment there, like, so good.
Loved it. Cool, let's get into it. 3 relationship traits you think are toxic but actually aren't. Getting jealous. What do you think about that?
So getting jealous, I think there's a moment in everyone's life that they have at least experienced jealousy. And there's different. However, I think this is something that a lot of people actually do know now, that getting jealous in your relationship is actually really healthy. It's showing that you do genuinely care. Does that make, you can evolve on that.
Yeah, and there's different levels to it. Like, if you feel a little bit of jealousy, that's so normal. But it comes to a point where it's crippling insecurity, where your partner can't do anything and you're constantly accusing them, then that's obviously a toxic trait. But a bit of jealousy in your relationship means you care. And in your brain, you have this thing called a reticular activating system. And that's basically whatever you think of, your brain looks for evidence in the external world to confirm those beliefs. Like, if you are going to buy a red car, then you're driving home, you're going to see a lot of red cars because it's in the front of your mind. It's in your reticular activating system. So your brain is constantly looking for reasons to confirm the beliefs it already has, like a confirmation bias in a way. So if you believe that you're not good enough, that all your girls just cheat on men, or men are just scumbags and they want to get with other girls and they can't be trusted, then that's what your brain's going to look for in the external world. It's going to constantly look for signs in your relationship that your partner's cheating on you, that you should have trust issues. So it's really about overcoming your insecurities from your past so you can get to a place where you're not just constantly looking for signs to confirm your insecurities. You're actually looking for signs to show the relationship you want instead. So I feel like that's a big point.
Yeah, that's such a good example. I feel like since I mainly experience like healthy jealousy, and with my friends it's just healthy jealousy, it is actually such a thing of, if your partner is telling you not to do this, not to do that, or you can't do this, you can't do that, because of they are purely just jealous of the fact of other things.
Yeah, and it is a piece of whoever experiences the most jealousy in a relationship is the person with the lower self-worth in the relationship. I feel like that is a piece. But not to have any jealousy whatsoever, not to care about that whatsoever, would be pretty toxic. So having like a little bit of jealousy thrown in the mix, like it's a mixture for a great relationship. It means you care a lot, right? It's so funny. I went for a haircut. I went for a haircut and my barber's a female. And then I came home and she gave me gift cards. Like, here's 20% off your next haircut. Here's a free head massage. And Mia was like, what's that?
How did you? I was like, you just told me. I'm like, okay, you don't need that.
You don't need that. Give me that. You don't need that.
It wasn't that much attitude. But yeah, it definitely was. Also, something that a lot of people may not know is I am a qualified hairdresser as well. So for someone, yeah, I think that was also a part of like, I can cut your hair. I don't want to cut your hair. I am done with that part of my life. But the fact of you getting like all these coupons for all these different things. I don't think it was a percentage off the haircut. I think it was just like eyebrows and all these other things. And it's like one eyebrows and all things like that. Like, I do also have a diploma in beauty therapy. So I was like, and in massage and all of that. So I was like, you can put those in the bin.
It's so funny though. Yeah. You're getting threatened because this hairdresser gave me a coupon code for a head massage and eyebrows.
It was such a thing of like, I can do that. Throw that in the bin.
Threatened.
Throw it in the bin.
That was so funny. So I feel like a great relationship's made up of so many little attributes, and the tiny bit of jealousy thrown in there and like making fun of it like that is great. But when it turns into insecurity and it's crippling and your girlfriend can't leave the house without you checking the socials, or if your man leaves and goes to an event, you're checking his socials, you're checking if he's following anyone new, like that sort of stuff. Yeah.
It's such a thing on the healthy side of it, is that, you know, like a healthy jealousy is, you know, that you trust your partner trusts you, and it doesn't matter what situation you're in. I know that I can, no matter what situation you're in, I know that you're always going to do the right thing, and you'll never put yourself in a situation that would put the relationship in a bad situation. So like, I have that trust and that at my core. And then I know on other side of things, there are some girls out there, the fact that you're in a relationship makes you even more desirable, and they won't care that you're in a relationship, and they will just pursue that. So I need to have enough trust in you, which I do, for you to, no matter what happens, as much as they come on to you, even if you're not allowing it to happen, you need to make sure you don't allow it to happen, even if they do come on to you.
Yeah, because there's a line, and this is a whole podcast episode on its own, but cheating in a relationship, and everyone has a different line of where trust is broken, because betrayal happens in a relationship, but for one person be like, what's wrong with that? That was nothing. And then the other person can be like, that is such a big break of trust. So a lot of men, and I specifically at the start, had such golden retriever energy of like, I'm just friends with anyone. Like anyone I meet, I'll give them a hug. I'll like be super interactive, be really friendly with them. And then sometimes it'd be like, that's not actually comfortable for your partner. So it's like defining the line of what's right and what's wrong. And in your relationship, you're going to mess up sometimes, like where you're messaging this girl and from your eyes, it's just like, oh, that's totally normal. But from her eyes, it's breaking trust. So you're going to hit your head sometimes on walls to find out there's a wall there.
Yeah, and exactly, it's like it is so different in every single relationship, and that's why this is actually a section within our program that you guys get to sit down and you get to define and get clear on what cheating looks like to you and in your relationship, because what cheating is for me compared to what cheating is for Charlie potentially could have been different when we first met. And it's so important that you express exactly what you define cheating and not cheating in the beginning of the relationship, so then you know when something is crossing the line or not. Because sometimes in other people's relationship, messaging another girl ever could have been no, definitely, like you can
or
never do that.
Or being friends with your ex.
Yeah.
One person be like, that's so fine. Obviously, I'm going to be friends with my ex. The other person be like, that's so weird. Why would you do that?
Yeah, and
you're different people.
Exactly. And like some people are still best friends with their exes, and that's so fine and a lot of people are so fine with that in their relationship. It just really depends on the particular relationship within itself.
Yeah, and if your current girlfriend isn't happy with you being friends with your ex, it's like there's a trade-off to make there. Don't be like, oh, she's so insecure. Why would she think that? Obviously, I don't want to be with my ex. That's why she's my ex. It's like, no, if your girl's not happy with that, there's a trade-off, right? Are you going to choose your current partner or are you going to choose to be friends with your ex? Because I feel like that's a bit shitty if you continue being best friends with your ex, even though you're in a new relationship.
And going back to us and like being a golden retriever person, and it's such a defining moment of like you would message, like you just message people on Instagram all the time because it is your job. And then I forgot where I was going here. Yeah, then just talking about when we are catching up with people or you are having certain conversations or initiating conversations first, of the wording choice that you use and how you go about it. Sometimes even if you're not meaning to come across a certain way because you're just super friendly and nice, knowing that on that girl receiver's end, like the receiver end, who is a girl, probably has other guys sliding into her DMs saying something maybe similar, but their intention is
to get into bed with them.
Yeah, to get into bed with them. So seeing your name within that
could generalize it.
Yeah, within the messages could make it look like that you're also coming off in that way. And it's like those are the conversations that we had as well, of just like the way that even that you're not meaning that and the conversation is super plateau or however you call it. You just need to make sure that from their point of view, they aren't perceiving it in a bad way, like in a sexual way or he's interested in me or he's wanting my attention.
Absolutely. Yeah. So many nuances like that, isn't there?
100%.
And the girls' DMs is a fucking crazy place. Like, why is it like guys, like you look at a girl's DMs and it's like, it's going to be bad, but like a 3 out of 10 girl will get way more DMs than a 9 out of 10 guy. Don't you know?
No,
isn't that such a thing?
This is something you have said before, and all I think of about it is just like your heart just wants attention.
No. Send me DMs. That's so true, though, I think. Like, why are guys... Is it because guys should initiate like that? But it's like... That sounds so bad, but...
Yeah, what Charlie... You didn't finish the whole thing that you normally say. What you normally say is like a 3 out of 10 girl will get a lot of messages, but a like
9 out of
7,
10 guy.
I was like going to say a 7 out of 10 guy will hardly receive any messages whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then, it's like, why?
Why is that?
Why is that? And always just because like the guy is wanting to pursue more, and the women are naturally in their feminine who will sit and receive and be.
Yeah. And be.
And be. Feminine energy just is, and it just bees.
Okay, that was a tangent on jealousy, but number 1 is jealousy. Having a little bit of that in the mix can spice things up. Next one, having conflict. I have a client and she said, my partner and I argue every 2 weeks. Like, he writes down every time we had an argument, and he was like, on average, we argue every 2 weeks, and that's a bad thing. I was like, fuck, Mia and I have an argument every single day, but like tiny disagreements. Even before starting this podcast, we were setting up the lights, we were setting up the camera, and we were just having like a little bickerment, and we're just so fine with it.
Yeah, I do think you mentioned that in last week's episode. But yes, like having conflict is not toxic. If you yourself as a person have toxic traits and you're not dealing with conflict correctly and you're attacking the other person, wanting to win the argument and putting the other person down, so you are higher up in the hierarchy of power in the relationship dynamic, yes, that is toxic. But once you actually know how to communicate effectively through conflict itself, then having conflict is actually really healthy within a relationship.
Yeah, it's important to get your needs met.
Exactly.
You're two individual people with individual needs. So you need to teach the other person how to love you. And often they don't love you, and there's going to be walls that come up of being like, oh, fuck, I actually didn't feel loved at that time. Cool, let's have a conversation about it. And that's a conflict, right? When you have different needs and you have different things you want to achieve and they're not currently happening and you want to make a change. So it's like, there's different ways to have conflict. You can bottle up all your things under the surface and not talk about it for a long time, and then all of a sudden you blow up into this massive argument. That's how most relationships do it. They're scared of confrontation, they're scared of conflict, so they avoid it to a point where they can't take it and they blow up to their partner. But if you have a little bit of conflict every single day, sweep under the rug so there's like nothing there anymore. You've cleaned the glass. There's no more ammunition stored under the surface, right? Ready to blow up in your partner's face. You're actually talking about the things every single day. So it is so healthy and needed to have conflict.
Exactly. And like something that you said was like, we all have needs and you need to communicate those needs to your partner. It's not just needs within itself. It's how do you as a person like to receive or see that need being met within yourself. Does that make sense? Of like we all have need of connection or receiving love, but the way that I connect with people and the way that I receive love could be different to the way that you receive love and feel connected.
Yeah.
It's like something, I feel like we are pretty similar. However, in other people's relationship, for example, like my best friend and I love to feel connected with people. However, I am someone that will like see my close friends once every 2 weeks, once a month, and that makes me feel connected. That makes me feel great. However, my best friend, on the other hand, loves to have friends that message them every single day, and that's how she feels connected. So it's like we're still best friends, but we just know how the other person feels connected in that time. Does that make
And
sense?
it's what makes you feel loved and what makes you feel unloved. I could do certain things where I'm like, this means nothing. This is nothing. I just walked out the house. I didn't say anything. I just went for a walk. But for me, that could be like, well, that made me feel unloved. Like I got worried. I didn't know where you were, X, Y, Z. But in your head, it could be like, this is totally normal. So you have different things that make you feel loved, different things that make you feel unloved, different things that make you feel connected, different things that make you feel disconnected. And it's just like figuring out what that is for your partner. So whenever something doesn't feel right for you, instead of pushing it down and being like, no, that's not important, it is important, because it's just going to come out somewhere else in your relationship. So bring it up every time you feel disconnection in your relationship, because it teaches the other person how to love you. Like your partner probably wants to love you to the best of their ability. So you teaching them how to love you just makes it so much easier for them, so they don't have to guess all the time.
So overall, conflict in a relationship is very healthy. And if it feels toxic, it's probably because you're not communicating effectively, and your needs and how to get those needs met haven't been communicated or shared effectively with your partner.
And it's such a thing for men. There's this nice guy syndrome where you don't directly communicate your needs. You do it in this manipulative side quest way where you don't directly tell your girlfriend what you want, but you just manipulate her. You do nice things. You're a people pleaser. You do all these things to try and get your needs met, but you don't say it directly. You say it in this indirect, manipulative way. So it's so important to directly say like, hey, this is what I'm wanting.
And women do that as well.
And have the confidence to say that too.
100%.
Cool. Number 3 is spending a lot of time with your partner. Everyone has a different amount of time they want to spend with their partner, right?
Exactly. The way that I see it is I feel like it's very much a younger generation thought. Like I feel like it's people in their teens, 20s that are really thinking that it's spending a lot of time with your partner is a negative thing. However, speaking directly to those people, if you have a best friend, you're probably seeing them at that age, seeing them every day or every few days. So why is it unhealthy that it's like you're seeing your partner that much? Because very quickly, like Charlie became my best friend. So like obviously, so obviously I was wanting to see you every day or every couple of days.
That was really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, spending time with your partner, everyone has a different amount they want to spend with their partner. Nothing's right or wrong. Everyone has these rules. They come into the relationship and there's social expectations and there's these rules, and you've been watching your parents and you've been watching your friends and you've been watching TV, and there's no real set rules to your relationship. Whatever's right for you is right for you. Some relationships, seeing each other once every 2 weeks feels normal and that feels great. And you love alone time, like great. Some people are way more clingy and they're way more affectionate and they want attention every single day. Like great, just find someone who matches that. So there's no set hard and fast rules of this is how much time you should spend together in your relationship. It's whatever feels right for you and your partner. And this comes back to point number 2, having conflict, which is having conversations about what feels right for you. What are your needs? How can you communicate them in your relationship? Because there's no right or wrong. It's just like whatever you want.
Exactly. I really love that. Especially, it's like when you're seeing someone so much, sometimes a thought or statement that I would hear from some women is that like, I don't want him to get sick of me by seeing, like if he sees me too much, is he going to get sick of me?
Men never say that.
Interesting. Women.
I've never heard men say that. That's a woman's thing, hey.
It is. A lot of women do tend to say it because they are naturally more intuitive, and they're also wanting to be a bit more of a people pleaser of making sure. I hope that women go into dating a lot of like, I hope they like me rather than, and I wonder if I like them. And I'm not saying that's the right way. I'm not saying that's the way it should be. I'm just saying that that is genuinely what it has been for several years now, like decades. So with that in mind, to go back to that question, I'm worried if I see him too much, he will get sick of me. And of that, and the answer to that is no. If he sees you too much, he's not going to get sick of you. Like Charlie just said, it depends on the person themselves. Most of the time, if they genuinely like you, they are going to want to see you all the time. And sometimes, on the other side of things, someone that does really like you may also just need their own space. And that's not a lot of the time. That's just like a small percentage of men or of people that want their own time and space to themselves.
And don't take that as rejection.
Yeah, and don't take that as a rejection at all.
Yeah, it's so important to actually, especially with the different attachment styles, if there's one anxious and there's one avoidant, the avoidant could say, or the anxious could ask, hey, do you want to come round to mine tonight? The avoidant could say, hey, like I want to chill on my own tonight. The anxious could feel like, that means he doesn't love me. That means I'm too much. That means I'm smothering him. That means I'm overbearing. That means he's going to break up with me. It's like, no, maybe he just wants time on his own. It's such an important thing of not seeing it as rejection, instead of seeing it as that's what that person needs right now. And that is okay. Can you emotionally regulate yourself? Can you become secure? Can you question the thoughts that are coming up in your mind instead of getting entangled with them? And the last point on this, spending a lot of time together, is making sure that you two are still prioritizing other areas of your life rather than just the relationship. A big mistake is making your relationship your whole world. You hear that a lot, right? He's my world, she's my world. And then they neglect other areas of their life. They stop going to the gym. They stop reading books and meditating and doing things that are good for their mental health. They don't work as hard in their career. They're messaging their partner all the time. They're getting distracted. They're spending more money. They stop seeing their friends anymore. Then all of a sudden, the relationship's the best thing you have and the only thing you have in your life that's good. And then if that relationship ends, your life's in bits. There's nothing else to rely on. So don't make your relationship your whole world. If you're spending a lot of time with your partner, make sure you're also spending a lot of time in other areas of your life, like your physical, mental, career, finances, social life. Make sure they're good as well, so you're not putting too much pressure on the relationship.
That's great.
You like it?
Yeah, so to recap all of that. So 3 traits that you think are toxic in your relationship but aren't is number 1, getting jealous, 2, having conflict, and 3, spending a lot of time together.
Mia made a reel on this and it went pretty well. And that's that's the motivation for a lot of these podcasts. We test it on Instagram, making reels of different topics, and then certain things really pop off and blow up. And we're like, cool, make a reel about that. Obviously, people like that. So yeah, there's 3 relationship traits that you think are toxic, but actually aren't.
Excellent. Now we're going to move on to a question that a lady has. So I'm just going to read out the question and then get our point of view on it.
Let's go.
Excellent. So my boyfriend and I have only been dating for a few months, but have known each other for over 5 years. He is usually quite shy and reserved with his feelings. He does tell me he loves me very often. So the 2 times he's ever brought up marriage, though, was when he was drunk. The first time he kept saying it over about 50 times. That he was wanting to marry me and that he wanted to have kids with me. But when he was sober, he just said, I do remember what I said. The second time was when he was drunk and he told me that he wanted to marry me and could see us spending multiple lifetimes together. Why does he say this when why doesn't he say this when he is sober? What does it mean? Or is he just a drunken mess and regrets what he said when he was drunk?
So he keeps saying...
Sorry about my reading, guys.
Mia's a little dyslexic and it's a beautiful little trait. And she's working through it.
Charlie likes to label me as dyslexic. I just say I have trouble reading sometimes.
We'll just call it that.
There's traits of dyslexia for sure, but...
Bit of jealousy, bit of dyslexia.
Me, Jerry.
So the man keeps saying that he wants to marry her when he's drunk, but when he's sober, he doesn't really mention it. And this is really common. And even when you go out with your friends, like when you're 18, when you're 19, you tell all your friends you love them. And you wouldn't say that when you're sober, right? It's like when you're drunk, all the walls come down. The logical brain comes down. You're not thinking about consequences. You're not thinking about things. You're just in your feels. You're saying things for the moment. You don't know the future exists. You're saying things right now because that's what you want to express. Chances are for this guy, that's how he actually feels. When he's drunk, that's how he actually feels. He's wearing his heart on his sleeve. He's got some liquid courage in him. But then when he's sober and he's logical and he's thinking about the finances of the wedding, thinking about, can I see this working? Do I want kids? Where are we going to live? Are we going to move in together? How often are we going to see family? All these questions come up when you're in your logical brain, when you're sober. But when you're drunk, you're not thinking of any of that stuff. You're just blurting out how you feel rather than what you need to deal with.
Exactly. And there's also a part that it's like, even that you guys have known each other for 5 years, you've been in a relationship with each other for 5 months. So when he's sober, he's probably realizing, okay, well, it's probably too soon to say that right now, to say that I want to marry you and I want to have kids with you. Not that we're not saying that is the case, saying that it is too early at that time. It's like, you said that you thought you loved me on the first date.
I did.
Not that you shared that with me until like a couple dates or further out down the track. But it's like he could genuinely, I believe, by the sounds of it, he really does love you and really does care for you and really does want to potentially be married and have kids. And he sounds like he is really committed and in love with you and this relationship. And that he just has a little bit more liquid courage in him on those times to actually express that depth to you. And then when he's sober again, he knows that, okay, well, obviously she knows that because I've said it to her before, that I don't need to re-say it now, especially if he is quiet and shy and doesn't really normally express how he's feeling when he is sober. Not just that he loves you and wants to marry you, but maybe even when he's going through a hard time. By the sounds of it, he doesn't really express that.
Yeah, it sounds like he's not expressing himself. He doesn't know how to communicate properly. And this is such a thing in relationships. Like every single day we speak to people and there is shit communication. They're not happy. They don't know how to get a message across. They don't know how to right way without blame. They don't understand their needs fully. They don't understand what they're really feeling.
They're, sorry to interrupt, but it's like they're also reading or seeing other things online or movies or from their friends, and they're deeming things normal or normalizing bad behavior, bad communication, just bad relationships and bad traits that are happening and habits that are happening within the relationship as normal. And that's like, you should just be okay with it, and that's fine. That's fine that he's always organizing to catch up with his mates all over the weekend, even though we haven't spent any time together without me. And
it becomes invisible. Like, your environment can become so normal to the point it becomes invisible. The fish doesn't notice the water it swims in because it's just in the environment, right? It's so close that it can't even see anymore. Another analogy is you can't see the forest for the trees because you're so in the trees, right? You're in the trenches of this relationship. So it's so important to recognize it's not normal to feel like shit in your relationship all the time. If you're feeling unloved, if he's going out drinking every weekend and he doesn't give a shit about you, and he's not messaging you, and he's not reassuring you whatsoever, and he's talking down about you, and he's messaging other girls, that's not normal. The amount of coaching calls I get on, especially with women, and it's like, he does this, he does that, he does this, but I live at his house, but he spends some time with me, but he's a good guy, but he's this. It's like, that's no excuse. Women can really look at their relationship through rose-tinted glasses and be like, oh, but he does this, he does that, simply because they don't want to break up, simply because they don't want the uncertainty of being single again. They'd rather stay in an abusive, shitty relationship rather than actually being single and being at the chance of being happy again.
And on top of that as well, you mentioned, like, way at the beginning of people, your relationship really shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't have, like, we had a coaching call the other day or like last week saying that it's like, oh, I make sense, like, relationships are supposed to be hard, and you know, it like, do you want to dive into that more?
Yeah, to a point it should be hard, but your relationship shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't bring you so much uncertainty, so much doubt, so much pain, so much hurt, so much jealousy, so much anxiety and worry. Like, your relationship shouldn't be like that. Just because you've had shitty relationships in the past doesn't mean that that's what relationships are like. Don't generalize your relationship shit your last one was, or the one before that was. Like, not all men are the same. Not all women are the same. When you can work on yourself, become secure in yourself, heal the past, you can actually become the person who's worthy of a great relationship. But if you just keep repeating the same old patterns, you're going to keep recreating the same old relationships. So not all relationships are the same. Maybe you're just the same. Maybe you just haven't changed, and that's why you keep attracting shitty relationships.
And the thing is, you really can attract the dream relationship that you want. And it's like, a lot of the time, just from a woman's point of view, within conversations that I've had with a lot of my clients and girlfriends and things like that, they really have just put up with what they deem a relationship should be and should look like. But if they went to write a list of their dream relationship, everything that it looked like, everything that it felt like, everything that they were would happen in the relationship, you can actually achieve that within the relationship that you currently have or with a new partner. It's like, it's not that far out of reach when you're actually doing the work, like, and being able to communicate those needs. Because trust me, your dream relationship is out there and it can be created if you are the best version of yourself and you know how to communicate your needs and what you want effectively.
Yeah, and by your dream relationship is out there, doesn't mean there's a different partner, essentially. Like, it could be, but your dream relationship could be the one you're currently in, but you just haven't got the tools on how to make it great. And this is exactly why we do what we do. Every single day, we're helping couples gain the tools on how to become the best partner in their relationship, how to become happy in yourself, how to communicate, how to understand the opposite sex, the intimacy stuff, the conflict stuff, all the awareness around triggers, building trust, building appreciation, all this stuff, right? It's so, so important to actually learn the tools on how to create a great relationship. So if you are wanting help with your relationships, I really urge you to reach out to us on Instagram. Say what's going on in your situation, because if nothing changes, right? It's so easy to settle into a shit relationship. It's so easy for that to be the new normal. It's so easy to just wake up the next day and be like, oh, different day, we'll try again. We'll go off to work. I'll come home. He'll still ignore me. We still won't have sex. We'll XYZ. Oh, maybe tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow's here. And then the same cycle repeats itself for weeks or months or years. nothing changes if nothing changes in your relationship. You need to actually learn the tools on how to make it great.
That was excellent. Really great.
Amazing. So that is it for the 3 relationship traits that people think are toxic but actually aren't. I feel like what society think are toxic but actually aren't. And then when is it the right time to talk about marriage? Actually bring it up. If that's something you want, wear your heart on your sleeve and actually go after that. And then now to wrap it up, we'd love to hear from Mia Cherry. What's something you're looking forward to this week?
I actually wrote what you're looking forward to today.
Oh, today.
Today to change it up. But this week or today, I feel like this week, like we live right across the road from the beach. However, I haven't gone swimming at the beach.
You haven't been swimming in so long, have you?
No, it was like only like 2 weeks ago was my first swim in the ocean for the whole year, and we're in the 3rd month already. So I was like, I would really like to make the most of that. And our pool was really green for like a couple of weeks, and now it's finally clean and like safe to swim in. So I also want to swim in that.
Yeah, it looked like Shrek swamp for a bit, didn't it?
So bad.
Get out my swamp. Yeah, we live 2-minute walk from the beach, and Mia hasn't been swimming for a whole year.
I go to the beach every day, but yeah, swimming in it, I just haven't.
Swim in the beach, swim in the ocean. Yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm excited to, I think, work from more places this week. There's so many nice cafes on the Gold Coast here, and often can get stuck at working from home because there's Wi-Fi here, there's aircon, there's always food in the fridge. It's comfy. But it can feel this like same old every day. So working from different cafes helps me be more creative. It helps me feel sociable, even though I'm not talking to anyone.
Yeah, 100%. It's like every night I go to bed, I'm like, tomorrow I'm going to work from a cafe. The moment I wake up, I'm just at home.
Like, eating food.
It's just so convenient. Like Charlie said, everything that you want is just right here. But yeah, going out to a cafe, I find it's actually more productive for me most times because I'm focused on like I'm here to do work and changing my environment to do this. Unless we like run into someone that we know, and then we probably are chatting for an hour. But other than that, it's great.
Amazing. Thank you so much for listening to episode number 10 of the Relationship Mentors podcast. This podcast comes out every single Monday. So make sure you tune in next week, and we'll leave links in the show notes if you want to connect with us on Instagram or if you want to access any of our online programs. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you guys so much. See you guys then.
Mwah.